What's going on, guys? All muscle. This is my 96 C4. It's a collector edition car. I wanted to go over something today that I noticed a lot of people have trouble with, and there's issues with people braking. And it's basically this panel here. This is where the battery goes, and this is the battery tray. You can see the negative terminal there on the cable here. But anyways, this actual panel here, this filler panel, is actually broken a lot of times, and frequently. I don't know if people don't know how to install them correctly, or if they don't know how to take them off correctly. But I already have it off, so I'm going to show it to you here what it looks like when you remove it. As you can see, there's 3 mounting locations. The panel sits in this orientation here. So there's 3 mounting locations on the front, if you would. One in the very corner in the back towards the door. This is where the door is. And then also one that would be on the lower portion of the panel nearest to the door. So I don't know what the issue is, but I see a lot of these panels and they're cracked either up front here, a lot of times down here also, and then sometimes I just see them pretty much obliterated. But I'm gonna show you how I install the panel here. I'm gonna go over a couple of things. So I'm gonna pass the camera over to my little assistant. Hey, assistant. I'll take this tie off here real quick. I try to keep the car covered best as I can out of the sun. This is a custom cover that fits the car and the body shape real well, and it keeps that from flapping around. A lot of the flapping will actually cause damage to the paint eventually. And then the inside of the liner here has a pretty soft material, so that helps out. But there's only so much you can do. I'm just trying to get into the passenger door here, and then I'm gonna lift up the hood. Not a windy day today, so we'll keep the cover like that. So again, this is a 96 collector edition C4. It is got the LT4 because it is a manual car. In 1996, if you opted for the manual transmission, you automatically got the LT4. So what I'm going to do right now, real quick, is I'm going to go over the tools required and the hardware. Let's lay these out right over here. Okay, so these are the tools that I use. I've got a 3/8 ratchet. This particular one is an extended ratchet with a flex head. This is the battery tie down. Also, I have these Allen keyway style Torx keys, and the one here that I need, or you're going to need, is going to be the T30. So you'll see it's got a really short elbow there, and I like that for this purpose. And then you'll also need a T15. So I'll show you why that is. And also a 10mm wrench. And then I also have an extension with a 13mm, and that is going to be for the battery tie down. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the battery. Where do I put the battery? So I have the battery here. I went with the Delco on this round. I usually keep the cars with Delcos, but however, I have found that the Delco batteries are actually getting a little bit cheaper and cheaper as the years go by, because I also have a C6 that I run the Delco in, and it's not lasting as good. And to test that, I put a Delco in my other 96 Corvette, which I have the same model Corvette, also the LT4 package, and that one is just hanging out right over there, that one there. So basically what I did is I did a test. I initially bought, at the same time, I bought a Delco and I bought a Deca battery. And because I wanted to see what the Delco was doing versus the Deca. Now the Deca that I pulled out of here had a February of 2019 date code. And currently we are on October 24th, 25th. I can't remember. What's today's date? The 5th? Probably the 25th. But anyways, the date code on it was February of 2019, and we are currently on October 25th. So it lasted me a solid 6.5 years. And what I'm doing now is I like to remove this handle. This handle that comes on the battery is kind of bulky, and there's too much interference here with the handle, and I just don't like it. So I usually remove them. It makes for a cleaner battery, or a cleaner finished look. So basically, your battery, you'll slide the battery right off here until it seats. You'll see it seat down in here. Next thing you're going to want is you'll grab the tie down and slide it right in here. The tie down basically is going to make sure that your battery does not move around, and you'll know when it seats properly. It'll get in the hole. We need to get it in the hole. So everybody likes to do that, right? Anyways, get that snug down real quick, just by hand. You don't need to Hulk this thing out or anything, just quick little snug until you feel it get hand tight, and then when you grab the ratchet, just a quick little snap, that way it doesn't back out. But you don't want to overly tighten these, because I've also seen the nut on the bottom of the battery tray get yanked loose from somebody over tightening it. So you see my extension here basically allows me to get down, and it's right up underneath the latch collar there. So you feel that's it, especially when you're using, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're using a long handle on the ratchet like this applies a lot of torque and a lot of leverage. You have a lot of leverage with this, so you have to be very careful when you're using a longer ratchet. That's just a tip on the side note. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead at this point. I'm going to snake my hand in here, and what we're working on is this red battery terminal. Okay, you see that? We're just going to get in here as good as possible and start the threads. Sometimes they're a little hard to find and hard to catch, but keep after it, you'll get it. So that one's started. I'm going to leave the negative disconnected, and I'm going to show you what I use to tighten down the terminals on this battery. This is a snap-on. Doesn't have to be a snap-on if somebody else makes a wrench like this, but it has a little elbow style socket end, and that's what I use there. And I tighten that down. Again, you don't want to go beast on this, okay? Just a little snug on there, and that's good enough. Okay, so back to the main part here. So what we're going to do on this, I wanted to show you. This location here is the first location that I go after, and as you can see, it's got a 10 millimeter, a washer that looks something like this. You can see the washer location where it was previously on the car, and it looked like it had a couple different locations at some point. Okay, so you can see that this would be the bolt. So this bolt is not the one for the bottom location here. This bolt actually sits right in here. The lower bolt, which is here, it's the same exact bolt. However, you do not, when you take it off, you do not need to take it all the way out. If you can see that, you just back it down off there a little bit, and because this panel here has a slot where you can just find the location, and then you just slide it into place. Okay, now that's just the slide, that's just slid on just like that. But if you notice, we have a gap here that's just way too tight, and at some point in time somebody had the gap too tight, and it causes things like this. You see the issue with the paint there had come off from rubbing. So what we're going to do at this point is we're just going to hold it in place, and again, you have 3 mounting tabs on the front, and for those mounting tabs you're going to need these style bolts, and these are basically the factory, what it comes with from the factory. Go ahead and start them off. These are T30s here again, and I had the tool that I had showed you earlier with the short elbow that I like to use. And the reason that I like to use that short elbow, if it hasn't become apparent at this point, is because the tire here, if you start getting, you know, your ratchet with the socket and everything, you might not make it. This is actually overkill here because it's pretty short, but again, it's going to do the same purpose. But a lot of cars actually have torque screws in their fender lining and in their area, in the area here in the wheel well, and these tools actually work great for that. Usually just to break them loose, and then you can thread them by hand. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to keep everything loose, right? We're going to keep everything loose so we can maneuver and manipulate the panel the way we want to. Okay, so now I have the hardware installed. This is going to be the last piece of the puzzle, and that one sits right up top here. So now that we have everything in place, we're going to go ahead and we're going to carefully lower the hood. Okay, so now that we have the hood down, I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to latch it. So I think what I'm going to do here at this point is I had already taken off the lower torques. Okay, this basically helps just loosen up the area, and those bolts actually go to the front on the interior fender panel, and they're basically holding the rocker molding down here. Okay, but when you take this loose, it helps get this panel off sometimes, because sometimes it's sandwiched in there pretty good. So I usually just go ahead and take these off. These require that T15 keyway that I showed you. You don't necessarily have to take these off, but I do, just like I said, sometimes it gets a little sticky and I want it out of the way just to not to scratch it up. But anyways, so at this point you're going to want to start finding your gap. Now I like to make sure that I'm flush with the door, and then I got my gap here the way I like it. Okay, and then with an open, this is a 10 millimeter wrench, you're going to slide and you'll be able to see the screw down here, and you'll start tightening it until it starts to feel like it's binding the panel. So once it does that, you'll be able to have it kind of hold itself as you maneuver it into place to your liking. This is all, you could set this gap wider if you want to. You can set it higher, lower, however you like, but I like to have it comfortable distance away from the door. Sometimes if you hit a dip or hit something, it might actually shift this panel, and when you exit the car, you might hear a little scratch or something catch. And again, you don't want to overly crank these, because what happens is that washer will bite onto that plastic so hard that it will actually cause it to crack. And when it cracks, it's just a matter of time before that mounting location is no longer a good mounting location. So got my gap just the same as it is on the bottom, on the top. And I like to have this gap a little bit wider, just because I've ran into problems in the past where it shifted. And again, you could probably tighten the thing up a little bit tighter than what I do, but I'd just rather not risk cracking the plastic, so I just keep an eye on it. And the battery needs to be serviced, you know, every so often. So this panel has to get removed. So at this point, I like the way it feels with the door. Actually, I think it's a little high. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this back up a little bit, just enough so I can slide it. There she goes. So once you feel the door flush with the panel, you're good to tighten it. So now that my door and my panel are flush all the way down, okay, and I like the gap, I'm gonna go ahead and test the door. I'm gonna open the door slowly, and when I open the door, I wanna look, it's gonna be close. Even with that gap being a little larger than I like it, you know, I have a lot of Mercedes cars and they like to have the gaps real tight. This gap right here to me is pretty large, and I might pull this out because I think it's a little bit too far in. But even with that gap, if you notice right here, it's very tight. And also when you look, you also want to look at this point here. I don't know how you're going to get on camera with this, but this point here also will come through and it'll scuff the door. See how tight that is? So that gap right there is actually perfect. Now all I want to do at this point is bring the panel, it's a little low here, I don't know if that's going to get picked up on camera, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back out just a tickle. Nope, don't force it. Once it gives, you'll know. So now I just brought that out just a hair. I'm gonna snug it back in, back down. Okay, I like everything about it right now. I'm gonna go ahead and test the door one more time now that I brought it back out, just make sure it didn't do anything I don't like. And that gave it just a little bit more clearance from the top. And if you could see from here, it barely makes it through there. Okay, so that gap, I like the gap. I like everything about it right now, the way it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these three here. going to close the hood. Okay, and now at this point, I want to bring the hood and have it. I want to bring the filler panel here, and then I want to match what's going on back here with the front. Okay. So when I do that, I've already got these bolts tightened down to where the point where they stop. And you do not want to have this panel extrude out too far, because when you close the hood, if there's not enough space here, you will smash the panel as well. So I'm sure a lot of people have had issues with these. And if you see here, I'm going to go ahead and line up. I'm going to line up these two, the lower rocker panel, line it back up to the filler panel, and go ahead and snug down the T15 Torx. I like that there. Again, you don't want to over tighten these. These are going into like a sheet metal type washer, nut style sheet. It's a real thin, basically piece of sheet metal. And what happens is the screw ends up getting damaged along with the threads on the nut. Again, you have a lot of torque here, so it really doesn't take much to get this tight when you have leverage and an extension like that. So be aware of that. You don't want to overly tighten things. This panel is solid. These three mounting tabs here are not allowing that to move. I'm going to go ahead and test the door one more time. You want to do this slowly, because if there is any binding, you're going to want to immediately stop. And see, so we're good at this point. There's no binding on the door. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open the hood. And for the final step, we're going to get that 8mm elbow wrench that we talked about earlier. And the final step is going to be connecting the negative battery terminal. Again, go ahead and try to start the threads here by hand. Once you feel that they've caught, you've got a good wrench here, or a good space for this wrench. And again, snug with it. We know the battery's live. We've got lights on underneath the hood. So anyways, there it is. I hope that helped some of you guys out with C4s. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let me know. But for right now, it's starting to get dark on me. We're going to wrap this up. You guys be cool out there, and I'll see you on the next one.